The massive human ship, Earth's Hope, glided through the star-filled darkness, its sleek hull reflecting the light of distant suns. Inside the ship's main deck, Captain James Walker stood tall, his blue uniform crisp and neat as he watched the approaching alien world through the viewing window. "Sir, we're receiving landing coordinates from the Empire's capital," said his pilot. Walker nodded, feeling the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. As the leader of Earth's first diplomatic mission to the stellar empire, he knew every move he made would be watched and judged. The reports said these aliens saw humans as dangerous predators, and he had to prove them wrong, or right, depending on what the situation needed. The planet below them was beautiful, covered in purple oceans and golden landmasses. Their ship descended through clouds that sparkled like diamonds, approaching a city that seemed to be made of crystal and light. The royal palace rose from the center like a tower of frozen starlight, reaching toward the sky. "Quite a sight," Walker said quietly. He had seen many things in his 15 years of space service, but this was different. This was the heart of the most powerful civilization in the known galaxy. As they landed on the floating platform near the palace, Walker saw the welcoming party. Tall, graceful aliens with silvery skin and flowing robes waited in perfect formation. Their forearms were decorated with glowing marks that shifted colors in the sunlight. But Walker's attention was caught by one figure in particular. Princess Luna stood at the front of the group, and even by her people's standards, she was striking. Her royal robes shimmered with living constellation patterns, and the crown on her head seemed to be made of captured starlight. Unlike the nervous looks from the other aliens, her large, purple eyes studied Walker with open curiosity. "Captain Walker of Earth," she said in perfect English, her voice musical. "Welcome to the heart of the stellar empire." Walker bowed exactly as he had been taught. "Your Highness, we are honored by your welcome." The other aliens whispered among themselves when he spoke, some taking small steps backward. Walker kept his face neutral, though he noticed everything. They really did see humans as predators. His deeper voice, his solid build, even his teeth when he spoke seemed to make them nervous. "Please follow me," Princess Luna said. "The Emperor awaits." As they walked through the palace halls, Walker couldn't help but be impressed. The walls seemed alive with flowing energy, and each room they passed showed incredible alien technology that made even Earth's best ships look simple. But he also noticed how the guards watched him, their hands never far from their weapons. The princess surprised him by dropping back to walk beside him. "Is it true," she asked quietly, "that humans learn to fight before they learn to speak?" Walker smiled carefully, making sure not to show too many teeth. "Not exactly, Your Highness. But we did learn both very well." Something sparkled in her eyes. Interest, not fear. "And you personally? I've read reports of your military service." "I've done my duty," he said simply. 12 space battles and 3 medals for valor. But this wasn't the time to brag. They reached the throne room doors, huge panels that seemed to be made of flowing light. Before they opened, Princess Luna turned to Walker. "A word of warning, Captain. My father's court is like deep space. Beautiful, but dangerous. Watch your steps carefully." Walker nodded, understanding the hidden message. Politics here could be as deadly as any battle. The doors swung open silently, revealing a vast hall filled with alien nobles. At the far end, on a throne that seemed to float in midair, sat the Emperor. The fate of future human-alien relations rested on what happened next. Princess Luna stepped inside, but her eyes lingered on Walker for a moment longer than necessary. In that look, he saw something that surprised him. Not fear of a human predator, but respect for a fellow warrior. Walker straightened his uniform and followed her in. Whatever challenges waited in that throne room, he would face them as he had faced everything else, with courage, honor, and the unbreakable spirit that made humans both respected and feared across the stars. 3 days after his arrival, Walker stood in the palace training grounds, his jacket removed and his black undershirt showing his strong build. Around him, alien nobles watched from safe distances, whispering behind their glowing hands. "Captain Walker," Princess Luna's voice rang out across the courtyard. She stood at the edge of a fighting circle marked with glowing lines. Our traditions demand that potential allies prove their worth. Are you prepared to face this challenge? Walker nodded, stepping into the circle. He had expected this. Every report about the Empire mentioned their love of combat trials. What he hadn't expected was the way Princess Luna watched him, not with the usual fear, but with open interest. Your opponent, she announced, will be Guard Commander Brightsteel. A tall alien warrior stepped forward, his silver armor gleaming. All four of his arms carried different weapons: an energy blade, a force shield, a stunning rod, and a gravity whip. The crowd murmured in approval. Walker stood calmly, empty-handed. This made the nobles whisper even louder. Was the human mad? Facing the Empire's best warrior without weapons. You may choose your weapons, Princess Luna offered, gesturing to a rack of alien gear. Thank you, Your Highness, Walker replied politely, but I'll stick to human fighting methods, if that's allowed. Brightsteel's eyes narrowed. You insult me, human, by refusing weapons. Walker shook his head. No insult meant, Commander. Just showing honest respect for your skills by fighting my way. The princess raised her hand. Begin. Brightsteel moved fast, his four arms working in perfect harmony. The gravity whip lashed out, trying to knock Walker off his feet. At the same time, the stunning rod jabbed forward, while the energy blade swung in from the side. But Walker wasn't there anymore. He moved with the fluid grace that had kept him alive in a dozen battles. The whip cracked empty air. The rod stabbed nothing. The blade sliced through space where he had been a heartbeat before. The crowd gasped. Even with their advanced technology, they had never seen someone move quite like this. Walker didn't attack. He simply wasn't where the attacks landed. He moved like water, each step precise, each dodge perfect. His face stayed calm, almost relaxed, as he studied his opponent's style. Brightsteel grew frustrated. His attacks became stronger but less controlled. The gravity whip hummed through the air. The energy blade left glowing trails. The stunning rod crackled with power. Walker waited for his moment. It came when Brightsteel overextended with all four arms at once. Walker finally moved forward. His movements were simple but unstoppable. A quick step, a gentle redirect of the commander's momentum, and suddenly all of Brightsteel's fancy weapons worked against him. The alien warrior crashed to the ground, tangled in his own gravity whip. His energy blade clicked off automatically. The stunning rod rolled away. The entire fight had lasted less than 2 minutes. Walker immediately stepped back and bowed. Then he walked over and offered his hand to help Brightsteel up. The commander stared at the offered hand for a long moment. The crowd held their breath. Finally, he reached up and took it, letting Walker pull him to his feet. I have never, Brightsteel said slowly, seen fighting like this. You turned my own attacks against me without ever striking a blow. Walker nodded respectfully. On Earth, we call it martial arts. It's about using an opponent's strength to defeat them while doing the least harm possible. Princess Luna stepped forward, her eyes shining with newfound respect. So humans aren't just powerful warriors. They're also wise ones. We try to be, Walker said. The strongest fighter isn't always the one who hits hardest. The princess turned to the watching nobles. The human has proved his worth, not just through victory, but through mercy and wisdom. As the nobles began to nod in approval, Walker caught Luna studying him again. This time, her look held something more than respect, something that made his heart beat faster than the fight had. But he also noticed a group of nobles leaving the training ground, their faces dark with anger. Not everyone, it seemed, was happy to see a human succeed. Walker had won this challenge, but he had a feeling the real tests were just beginning. The grand halls of the palace sparkled with light from 1,000 floating crystals as Walker made his way to the evening feast. A week had passed since his victory in the training grounds, and things had changed. Some aliens now bowed respectfully when he passed, while others watched him with dark looks. Tonight's feast was important. The Emperor had invited representatives from all noble houses to discuss the Human Empire alliance. Walker adjusted his dress uniform and entered the Great Hall. Princess Luna sat at the high table, wearing robes that seemed woven from starlight. She smiled when she saw him, gesturing to an empty seat near her. This caught everyone's attention. It was a great honor for a non-royal to sit so close to the princess. "Your victory has caused quite a stir, Captain," Luna said as Walker sat down. "Some houses are impressed. Others, less so." Walker nodded, noticing the cold stares from the nobles at the stone claw house table. "Politics is often harder than combat, Your Highness." "Indeed." Luna's voice dropped lower. "Be careful tonight. The stone claw house has always opposed dealing with primitive species." As if proving her point, Lord Stoneclaw himself stood up, his ceremonial armor gleaming. "Your Majesty," he addressed the Emperor, "while we celebrate, our enemies gather strength. Can we trust these humans? Their reputation for violence is well known." Walker kept his face calm, though he noticed several guards shifting positions around the room. Something felt wrong. The Emperor raised his hand for silence. "The humans have proved their worth. Captain Walker himself has shown both strength and wisdom. Perhaps," Lord Stoneclaw said, "we should see more proof." That's when Walker saw it, a tiny flash of movement in the shadows above the Emperor's throne. Without thinking, he jumped up and shouted, "Everyone down." A beam of energy sliced through the air where the Emperor's head had been a moment before. Guards rushed forward, but they were looking in the wrong direction. Walker didn't hesitate. Using the same smooth movements from his fighting demonstration, he grabbed a decorative plate from the table and threw it like a disc. It flew through the air, hitting something invisible above the throne. There was a crack, and suddenly an assassin appeared as their cloaking device failed. They fell from their hiding spot, but instead of attacking, they pulled out a small device that started glowing dangerously. "Bomb!" someone shouted. The hall erupted in chaos. Walker was already moving. He tackled the assassin, wrapping them in a tight hold he'd learned in Space Force training. With one hand, he grabbed the bomb and threw it straight up through an open window. It exploded harmlessly in the night sky, lighting up the clouds with purple fire. Guards swarmed in, taking the assassin away. Walker stood up, checking to make sure both the Emperor and Princess were safe. "Impressive reactions, Captain," the Emperor said, his voice steady despite the attempt on his life. "How did you know?" "The air shimmered differently near your throne," Walker explained. "Human eyes are good at catching small movements. We evolved as hunters, after all." Lord Stoneclaw's face had gone pale. The assassin had been wearing his house colors under their stealth suit. Princess Luna stepped forward, her eyes fierce. "It seems, Lord Stoneclaw, that the humans' primitive instincts just saved my father's life. Perhaps you'd like to explain why an assassin wore your colors." The Lord sputtered, but royal guards were already surrounding him. His plot had failed completely. Later that night, as things calmed down, Luna found Walker on a quiet balcony. "You continue to surprise us, Captain," she said softly. "Most see humans as dangerous predators, but you use those same predator instincts to protect us." Walker looked at her thoughtfully. "Humans can be dangerous, yes, but we choose how to use our abilities. I choose to protect." Luna stepped closer, her alien beauty enhanced by the starlight. "And what else do you choose, Captain?" Before he could answer, a guard rushed up. "Your Highness, your father requests your presence immediately. We've discovered more plots against the throne." Luna's face hardened with worry, but her eyes lingered on Walker. "We'll continue this conversation later, Captain. I have many more questions about humans to ask you." As she hurried away, Walker watched the stars, knowing that the real challenges were just beginning. The assassin had failed, but there would be more threats to face, to both the Alliance and his growing feelings for a certain alien princess. After the assassination attempt, things changed quickly in the palace. The Emperor named Walker as Princess Luna's personal guard, a position that caused much gossip among the nobles. Some said it was wise to have a human protector after the Stoneclaw betrayal. Others whispered that keeping a predator so close to the princess was dangerous. Walker took his new duties seriously. He stood guard as Luna attended her royal meetings, walked with her in the floating gardens, and protected her during public appearances. But it was their quiet moments that proved most interesting. "Tell me about Earth," Luna said one evening as they sat in her private library. The room was filled with holographic books that floated like butterflies around them. "What makes humans so different?" Walker thought carefully before answering. "We came from a harsh world, Your Highness. Earth tested us constantly. Predators, natural disasters, changing climates. We had to adapt or die. It made us tough, but it also taught us to work together. Please," she said softly, "when we're alone, call me Luna." He nodded, trying to ignore how his heart beat faster when she smiled. "Then you should call me James." Luna moved closer, her four-fingered hand pointing to a hologram of Earth. "Your world looks so blue and green. Ours is all purple and gold. Does that make it hard for you to stay here?" "Actually," Walker admitted, "I find your world beautiful. Different, yes, but beautiful in its own way." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Luna quickly looked away, her silvery skin taking on a slight purple blush. "Show me how humans fight," she said suddenly. "Not just the moves, but teach me why you think that way." Walker raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Are you sure? It's not very royal." Luna laughed, a sound like crystal bells. "I'm tired of being treated like I'll break. Show me how to be strong like a human." They cleared a space in the library. Walker showed her basic stances, explaining as he went. Human fighting isn't just about being powerful. It's about balance, about using your opponent's energy against them. Luna tried to copy his movements. Her forearms made some things awkward, but she was a quick learner. When she stumbled, Walker caught her automatically, then quickly stepped back, aware of how close they were. "Sorry," they both said at the same time, then laughed. "Your Highness," a sharp voice interrupted. Royal Advisor Goldwing stood in the doorway, looking scandalized. "This is highly inappropriate. A princess cannot engage in common fighting." Luna straightened, suddenly every inch royal. "I am learning about our allies' culture, Advisor. Or would you prefer we remain ignorant of those we wish to call friends?" Goldwing's face darkened. "There are rumors, Your Highness. The nobles talk of how much time you spend with the human. They say it's unseemly. They fear what they don't understand," Luna said firmly. "Captain Walker has proved himself a true friend to the Empire. Or have you forgotten how he saved my father's life?" The advisor bowed stiffly and left, but the damage was done. The easy mood was broken. "I should go," Walker said. "We don't want to cause more gossip." "Wait." Luna grabbed his arm with two of her hands. "James, do you ever think about how different our peoples are? How many barriers stand between us?" Walker looked at her, seeing the worry in her purple eyes. "I think about how much we can learn from each other, how strength comes in many forms, and how some things are worth fighting for, no matter the barriers." Luna's hands tightened slightly on his arm. "Even if everyone stands against it. Especially then." They stood there for a moment, human and alien, guard and princess, two beings from vastly different worlds drawn together by something neither fully understood yet. Finally, Luna stepped back, becoming the princess again. "Tomorrow, you'll teach me more about human ways." "That's a royal command, Captain." Walker bowed, hiding his smile. "As you wish, Your Highness." As he left the library, Walker knew things were changing between them. He just hoped they were ready for what those changes might bring, and what they might cost them both. The attack came during the night celebration of the Empire's founding. The great hall blazed with floating lights, music filled the air, and nobles danced in their finest clothes. Walker stood near Princess Luna, watching the crowds with careful eyes. "Something feels wrong," he said quietly to Luna. She turned to him, her crown sparkling. "What do you mean?" Before Walker could answer, the lights went out. All of them. Even the natural glow of the alien architecture died, leaving them in total darkness. Then the screaming started. "Guards to the Emperor!" Luna shouted, her voice clear and strong. But only silence answered. Walker's hand found Luna's in the dark. "Stay close to me," he whispered. Years of combat had trained him to see in low light, and he could make out shapes moving in the darkness, shapes that weren't supposed to be there. "The defense systems are down," Luna said, her voice tense. "That's impossible unless someone let them in," Walker finished. He pulled Luna behind a pillar as energy beams started firing across the hall. The attack had been perfectly planned. No lights, no guards, no defenses. "We need to reach the emergency control room," Luna said. "I can restart the defenses from there." Walker nodded in the darkness. "Lead the way. I'll protect you." They moved through the chaos, Walker using everything he'd learned about fighting to keep them safe. When attackers came close, he dealt with them quickly and quietly, using the darkness to their advantage. "Humans really can see in the dark," Luna whispered, impressed, as Walker guided them past another group of rebels. "Not exactly," he replied softly. "We just learned to use our other senses. Right now, I'm listening more than seeing." They were almost to the control room when a deep voice stopped them. Well. The princess and her pet human." Lights suddenly blazed around them. Lord Stoneclaw stood there, no longer in prison clothes but in full battle armor. Behind him, a dozen armed rebels waited. "You really thought a prison could hold me?" He laughed. "The Empire has grown weak, accepting aliens as equals. It's time for change." Walker stepped in front of Luna, his body tense and ready. "The only weak ones are those who fear change, who hide in darkness, and strike from shadows." Brave words from a primitive species, Stoneclaw sneered. He raised all 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. "Let's see how you handle real Empire technology." What happened next became legend in the Empire. Walker moved like lightning, using everything he'd learned about their weapons and fighting styles. He turned their attacks against them, just as he had in the training yard, but this time with deadly seriousness. Luna proved she'd learned well too. Using the moves Walker had taught her, she fought alongside him, her 4 arms moving in perfect harmony with his human techniques. "The control room," Luna shouted, seeing an opening. "I can make it." "Go," Walker said, engaging 3 rebels at once. "I'll hold them here." Luna raced for the control panel while Walker kept the rebels back. She reached it just as Stoneclaw aimed a weapon at her back. "Luna!" Walker shouted, throwing himself through the air. The energy blast caught him in the shoulder, but he managed to tackle Stoneclaw to the ground. Luna's hands flew over the controls. Suddenly, the palace lights blazed back to life. Alarms sounded. The defense systems came online, and loyal guards began pouring in. "No!" Stoneclaw screamed, seeing his plan fall apart. He raised his weapon for one last shot at Luna. Walker, despite his injured shoulder, moved faster. One perfect strike, just as he'd shown Luna in their practice sessions, and Stoneclaw fell unconscious. As guards secured the rebels, Luna ran to Walker. "You're hurt." He smiled through the pain. "Worth it to keep you safe." Luna touched his wounded shoulder gently with all 4 hands, her eyes full of worry and something else, something that made the pain seem unimportant. "My father was right to trust you," she said softly. "You truly are the best of both our peoples, strong enough to fight, wise enough to protect." Around them, order returned to the palace. The rebellion had failed. But as Luna helped Walker to the medical bay, both knew that everything had changed. The crisis had brought them closer than ever, breaking down the last barriers between their worlds. And in Luna's eyes, Walker saw a future neither of them had dared to imagine before. 3 days after the rebellion, Walker stood on his favorite palace balcony, his injured shoulder nearly healed thanks to advanced Empire medicine. The purple sunset painted the sky in beautiful colors he'd never seen on Earth. His mind kept returning to the way Luna had looked at him during the fight, the way her hands had touched his wound, the worry in her eyes. But she was a princess, and he was just a human captain. Some distances couldn't be crossed. Deep thoughts, Captain. Walker turned to find Luna standing there, wearing simpler robes than usual. In the sunset light, her silvery skin seemed to glow. Your Highness, he bowed slightly. Shouldn't you be at the victory celebration? I was looking for you, she said, moving closer. The healers say you're avoiding your final treatment. Walker smiled. I'm fine. Human bodies heal well on their own. Always so strong, Luna said softly, always protecting others. But who protects you, James? The use of his first name made his heart jump. Luna, I. The Royal Council met today. She interrupted, her four hands clasped together nervously. They want me to marry, to choose a noble who will help lead the Empire one day. Walker's heart sank, but he kept his face neutral. That's good news. The Empire needs strong leadership. Is it good news? Luna stepped even closer. What if I don't want a noble? What if I want someone strong but gentle? Someone who fights with wisdom instead of anger. Someone who sees me as Luna, not just a princess. Walker's breath caught. The law says royals can't marry lesser species. Laws can change. Luna's voice was passionate. You've changed so much already. The nobles respect human strength now. The common people admire human wisdom. Even my father says humans have proved themselves equals. She reached out, touching his healed shoulder with two hands while her other two hands took his. I've studied human customs, she continued. On Earth, people marry for love, not just politics. You choose partners who make you stronger, better. Luna, Walker said gently, think about what you're saying. The nobles would never accept. Share my bed tonight, she said suddenly. Walker stepped back in surprise. What? It's an old Empire custom, Luna explained, her silvery skin flushing purple. When a royal declares their choice, they invite their chosen one to share their private chambers. It makes the choice public, official. Walker stared at her. Luna, I'm human. I'm a captain, not a noble. I can't. She stepped forward again. Or won't. Are you afraid, James Walker? You who faced armed rebels without fear. You who changed how an entire empire sees humanity. I'm afraid of hurting you, he admitted, of causing problems for you. Luna laughed softly. The human worries about me, went on to one with royal power. She touched his face with one hand while her other three hands held his. I am Princess Luna of the Stellar Empire. And I choose you. I choose your strength and your gentleness. I choose your wisdom and your courage. Walker looked into her purple eyes and saw everything he'd been fighting his own feelings about. Luna, share my bed tonight, she said again, softer this time. Let me choose love over politics. Let me choose a future where our peoples truly come together. The nobles will object, he warned, even as his heart raced. Let them, she smiled. You taught me how to be strong. Now let me be strong for us. Walker finally smiled back. When did you know? When you fought without weapons in the training yard. Or maybe when you saved my father. Or when you taught me to fight. Or when you took that blast meant for me. She laughed. I suppose I've been falling for you all along. Your father will have something to say about this. Luna's eyes sparkled. He already has. He said any being who would take a death blast for his daughter has proved their worth 1,000 times over. She stepped back, holding out all four hands to him. So James Walker of Earth, I ask one more time, will you share my bed tonight? Will you help me show the Empire that love knows no boundaries? Walker looked at her, this amazing being who had changed his life. Then he reached out and took her hands in his. Yes, he said simply. Luna's smile outshone the setting suns. Together, they turned toward her chambers, ready to face whatever the future might bring. The great hall of the Stellar Empire had never seen a day like this. Golden light poured through crystal windows, while thousands of floating lights danced in the air. Nobles from every house stood in their finest clothes, watching as history was made. 6 months had passed since the night Princess Luna asked Walker to share her bed. Those months had been full of challenges, arguments, and finally, change. Walker stood at the front of the hall, wearing a unique uniform that combined his Earth military honors with Empire royal symbols. He looked calm, but his heart pounded as he waited. "Never thought I'd see this day," said Bright Steel, who stood beside him as his honor guard. The commander had become a close friend since their first fight in the training yard. A human joining the royal family. "You've changed everything." Before Walker could answer, the music started. The crowd turned as Princess Luna entered. Her royal robes shifted with scenes from both Earth and her homeworld. Oceans of blue and purple, mountains of gold and green. Her 4 hands held ancient royal symbols, and her crown sparked with living light. But it was her smile, aimed directly at Walker, that took his breath away. The Emperor himself stood to perform the ceremony. His voice rang out through the hall. "Today, we do more than join 2 people. We join 2 worlds, 2 ways of life. When humans first came to us, many feared them, called them predators, primitives." He looked around the hall. Those same humans proved themselves heroes. Captain James Walker saved my life, helped stop a rebellion, and showed us that true strength lies not just in power, but in how we use it. Luna reached Walker, her eyes shining. 2 of her hands took his, while her other 2 hands held out the royal symbols. "The old laws said royals could not marry lesser species," the Emperor continued. "But who is lesser? The one who fights with honor, who protects with wisdom, who loves with courage." He smiled at Walker. "No, today we change those laws, recognizing that greatness knows no species." Walker and Luna spoke their vows, his in a single strong voice, hers in the musical tones of her people. They'd promised to join not just their lives, but their cultures, their strengths, their futures. "Let all witness," the Emperor declared, "the union of Princess Luna and Captain James Walker. Let it mark the beginning of a new age of understanding between our peoples." The hall erupted in cheers. Even the nobles who had opposed the marriage found themselves caught up in the joy of the moment. At the celebration afterward, Walker danced with his new wife, carefully matching his steps to her 4-legged grace. "Happy?" Luna asked softly. "More than I ever dreamed possible," he replied. "Though I'm still not sure what to do with all these royal titles they've given me." Luna laughed. "Just be who you are, the human who taught an empire about true strength." Later, they stood on their favorite balcony, watching the stars. Earth shone as a distant point of light. "Look," Luna said, pointing with 2 hands while her other 2 held Walker close. "Both our worlds, shining in the same sky, just like us, different, but together." Walker pulled her closer. "We've got a lot of work ahead, helping both our peoples understand each other better, building trust, creating something new." "Good thing I have a strong human husband to help me," Luna teased. Then she grew serious. "You know what makes me happiest? Now other royal families across the galaxy are changing their laws too. Love is winning over old fears. That's what humans do best." Walker smiled. "We change things, break barriers, prove anything is possible." "No," Luna corrected him. "That's what we do best, humans and Empire folk together. And we're just getting started." They kissed under the starlight, while below them in the city, humans and aliens celebrated together. The future stretched out before them, full of challenges, but also full of hope. The Empire had learned that humans weren't just powerful predators, and humans had learned that aliens weren't just strange beings from the stars. Together, they had proved that love, courage, and understanding could bridge any distance, even the vast gulf between worlds. As the celebration continued below, Walker held his alien princess close, knowing that their story would be told for generations. The tale of how a human warrior and an alien princess changed the galaxy forever, one brave choice at a time.